Dark. Stats. Ryung. GuMiho.
Welcome back to the GSL Code S. We're ready to go now into the losers match here. One of these two players is going to be eliminated. I had high hopes for Stats when we started today. Yeah. I thought he was good. You know, we're two Protoss players. We're like, yeah, let's see what he can do. You know, Stats historically was, and hopefully one day still is, will be kind of the best macro Protoss there is. Like, if there's a guy that could show you how to like survive on 3 bases and eventually 4, and then win with a push that has every unit that the race has, he's the guy. But when he played against Dark, Dark beat him twice with Nidus Network. So it's like,
and as good as Stats is, I mean, that match against Dark didn't go his way, but I feel like PVZ is probably one of his better matchups right now, because just overall, over the past couple of weeks since Stats started playing Gun, he's been struggling a bunch in PVT. And now if he wants to actually make it out of this group, he's going to have to win some PVTs.
Right.
Which is not the situation you want to be in if your Stats... Again, we talked about this at the intro of the show, but overall, over the past couple of weeks, 1-7 in matches against Korean Terrans since returning to StarCraft 2 competitive play.
yeah.
Just one of those matchups that he's had a hard time adjusting to the new meta for, you know, it feels more dangerous as a Protoss player. And, you know, maybe if Stats is able to play the macro game the way that he wants, if he's able to play safe, get up to 3 or 4 bases and solidify, we can see something good from him, but I am afraid of the tricks that Ryung might have up his sleeves.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried here. Wouldn't mind seeing Stats cheese, but that's kind of not the way he tends to play. Anyways, on to our best of 3.
Guangdong Freaks. Stats. On-site Gaming. Ryung.
It's almost surreal, the amount of blur that's going around.
I know.
Him.
It is kind of cool that cameras can do that, though. You can kind of just block out everything. Especially if you're like, you know, your computer's like in the living room, or like, you know, near the kitchen where there's like your family members are in the background. You know, your house is messy. You don't want to, like, you know, have to just have everything nice and tidied up.
It's just weird though. Like, it's so blurry and it's so white. I feel like he's like coming out of like heaven or something. Like, he's like some angel sent to Earth to destroy Protoss players in the GSL, make stats which he would never return.
Yeah. By the way, you know, we had an interview earlier where Dark was talking about how he'd be very embarrassed if he lost to what am I talking about? To Stats, excuse me. Ryung actually said the same thing. Ryung's like, oh, no, like, he's not very good. Now, that being said, Ryung is always pretty confident, and so I can never tell, like, with him, because he'll always kind of act like, you know, he's in good shape. He's really good at trash talk and stuff like that, but...
I think that was a little... I don't know. I feel like that was too real to be trash talk, you know? I mean, the fact of the matter is that Stats, he's only been playing for a couple of months at most now.
Yeah.
Since coming back to StarCraft 2. And, you know, the fact that he even qualified here for GSL round of 16 is pretty amazing. He had to beat Creator, I think, twice, and Scarlet as well. So won a PVZ and I believe 2 PvPs, if I'm not mistaken. I think he lost to a Terran in his bracket. So, you know, he's showing that he's still one of the best players in the world. The question is, how long is it going to be before he can actually regain the form and be, you know, the player that we know he can be and that he was for a very long time in StarCraft 2's history?
Yeah. So yeah, that's the question we're all asking ourselves here. Now, PVT as a matchup, it's actually been a lot of fun to kind of watch it develop. It does seem to be at times a very punishing matchup for either race.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about this matchup, and I'm not even trying to be funny here, but is that there's no Zerg creep. You know, I think that that's the one thing about StarCraft 2 as the years have passed that I'm not that fond of. I like the idea that you don't have vision easily everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, creep is very powerful. I like the dynamics of PVT as well. I feel like there's oftentimes, I mean, most of the dynamic is Terran having, you know, big harassment and kill potential on the Protoss at the top level as opposed to the other way around. But I still think that's something that's fun. You know, I like it when games feel like they can hang on the razor's edge. We might get some unique builds coming out of our players. As in this game, Ryung, I believe, going for 3 barracks before factory, so a little bit more bio-heavy play from him. And Stats, if you have been watching his games in some of the other online Korean leagues, you will know that he really hasn't been experimenting too much in PvT. He's kind of just had one build be his bread and butter, which is what he's going for right now. It's one gate into Stargate, sometimes with the second gateway, and then Robotics Facility. He'll take the third base, and he'll try to work up to a Phoenix Colossus composition before mixing in Disruptors, or he will go Blink Disruptor, depending on how the openings go. But the issue with that is, even if you play perfectly, it can be very difficult to defend all of the possible attacks that come in, because, you know, going Phoenixes, that's a lot of resources that aren't being invested into gateway units to support the Colossi, and if those Colossi go down, especially against somebody that plays a little bit more Marauder heavy like Ryung, it can be an issue. Things can quickly spiral out of control. And I mean, so anybody on their best day might be having a hard time against, you know, some of the best players in the world to execute this build, and Stats trying to do something that's as dangerous as this, coming back from military service just 2 months prior, is, oh, it's confident, but it's difficult to make work. And oftentimes you'll see Stats, you know, if he's able to navigate past 7 minutes 30 or 8 minutes in the game without taking big damage, he's in a great spot. He's in his comfort zone, he's macroing, he's feeling powerful. But it's usually that time where things go awry.
So I like the idea of keeping the Phoenixes back to catch drops and then scouting when they don't come. This is like a beautiful timing. This is set up to just kill the third immediately.
This might be Ryung being a little too familiar with Stats' game
Yeah, I was going to
plans.
say, it seems like he's like, I know exactly what you're trying to do.
This is like the hard counter almost, it feels like, to Phoenix play.
And the thing is, you know, he gets in there basically for free. I do.
Oh, even Stims in, comes up the
God.
ramp.
All
Both
right.
sentries go down. The shield battery's going to
my
get focused
God.
down. The Immortal also falling here.
That was so sick.
As in one moment, Stat just gets the rug swept up from under him, looked away for a brief second, and that's going to be Ryung taking game number 1. I mean, my goodness.
He just knew when the Phoenixes came in, he's like, you're not looking at your natural.
Yeah,
just like stimmed and ran in.
He just went for it, man. And that was some beautiful
hilarious.
decisive play from Ryung. We didn't really get to see.
That was so funny.
We didn't get to see too much more of Stats' game plan.
You know,
but
like Stats went back to his natural and was just like, oh!
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like, you have to play perfect with this army composition. There are so many kind of wrenches that Terran can throw at the machine that is your macro play as Protoss, and it's just difficult to do, especially, you know, with such a short amount of time to practice for something like the GSL Code S. So
he seemed to know exactly what to do. Like, that came out exactly when the third Nexus starts, which is like, boom, it's gone. When he scanned, first of all, he should not have been able to get inside of the natural. If the Protoss is ready, they could stasis that.
Yeah, they had sentries
chop
too.
you up. Yeah.
So Sentry should have been able to force field, but
Ryung
just knew. He just knew.
You know, a win is a win, man. We're gonna go to game 2, and I do feel like Stats. It's awkward, man. It's like his underpants are over his normal pants. You know what I mean?
It's like one of those dreams where, like, you're completely naked and you're surrounded by people in public,
I
and
feel
you're
like he's in one of those dreams.
Where's my underwear?
He's naked and he's failing a test right now. Is what it feels like. Like, Ryung knows exactly what he's doing. So we're gonna have to see something better. I am scared for Stats. I was hoping to see him move on, but right now this is just a game of survival. Good luck, because right now Ryung has a 1-0 lead.
Guangdong Freaks. Stats. On-site gaming. Ryung.
Yeah, it looks like he'd be waking up in a hospital bed in a movie. Yeah.
Coming out from under the anesthesia. Yeah.
And they go, you've been in a coma for 3 months. Like,
I went through one of those experiences recently. I had a very minor operation, but they had to put me under general anesthesia. And
oh, yeah.
I woke up during the
in a coma?
No. It's like, yeah, I actually just awoke from a coma. I hibernate in between GSL seasons now.
That's right.
But I woke up during the operation. It was a terrifying moment. It was really painful.
I had it
Not
once.
like that.
I remember, like, I have a friend of mine who's actually was a nurse, and he was telling me a lot of times people wake up from anesthesia and attack the doctor.
I basically
People
did that.
basically wake up and get confused,
I
and so they
basically
get to
did
be
that.
ready.
Yeah, I remember I had this tube down my throat, and I went and I tried pulling out the tube, and then the nurse tried to force my arm back, and I tried to overpower the nurse.
You
and
Mortal Kombat uppercutted her, and then
well, you're not, you're not in the right state
no,
of mind during that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like throwing punches or anything, but
You like woke up from a coma. You're like, is Stormgate out yet? And they're like, not yet. Put me
me
back
back
under.
in.
Let me know when that game's out.
yeah.
So, yeah, man. I mean, we've got a game where both players are fast expanding.
Yeah, same. I don't know if it's identical builds because I didn't see exactly what Ryung went for in the opening last time, but it's more or less the same. Just, you know, both players going for 1 Rax FE, 1 Gate FE. We have a little Reaper wall in here on Stats' side, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw down a Stargate after the Stalker. If not, I'm expecting... If we don't see a Stargate after the Stalker, I'm wondering if we might even see a Stargate again in the series, because it could be the kind of thing where he's just going to go blink and just kind of play it from there from here on out if he's not feeling confident in what's kind of been his macro game plan up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Phoenix, you know, banking that up, I actually think it's pretty smart because there's like so many. This is funny. What am I looking at? What's funny is that this Reaper's been over microed and has actually taken more damage than
yeah.
just like gone up in the main.
I think it might actually be dead now. It can't go back.
Yeah,
Can't go back down.
I think it's it's done for.
Oh, not for that with that grenade.
Yeah, like I like the idea of keeping the Phoenixes back because then you can actually catch medevacs. And there was a whole period where it's like all Terrans did was just Widow Mine drop you over and over. And the idea of just accumulating Phoenixes and just catching everything and killing it off is smart, but it seems like Ryung just knows that that's what he's going to do, so he just, doesn't play that game. Ryung last game just sat back on 3 barracks and had a push where you have the combat shields upgrade. And I think it was Stimmer concussive. He had everything, basically, by the time the push came out.
Yeah. You get those 3 barracks up that early, you're going to have all the upgrades you need. It's going to be...
You just come out and attack. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be a DT drop here for Stats. So
yeah, maybe DT drop into Archon Harass.
Yeah, it could be. I like that he's mixing this up a little bit because at least in the PPT games that I've been seeing from Stats recently, it really has been all about that Stargate. And so far, it just hasn't been working. I mean, the potential is obviously there, but it's one of those things that, at any moment, it feels like Terran can throw out all sorts of builds like Ryung did in game number 1 that just pulls the rug out from under you and you're in a world of hurt. So we'll see what he's able to get here with this DT drop. Look at the minimap. It looks like Stats also gearing up to take a 3rd base. That Nexus is about to go down.
Yeah, and so let's see what this can do. I mean, the Raven, it's never a good sign if you're going DTs and there's a Raven out, because it means there's basically just an answer for, what you're up against. Unless the Raven actually goes across the map and, drops auto turrets, which, I'm sorry, where is the Raven, actually?
I don't know. I think it's in the natural expansion of Terran, but...
Okay. Well, he's got 3 DTs. He's going to send 1 up to the natural, and then 2 are going to drop in the main. The depot's going to see this.
Yeah, Depot sees the drop coming in. Raven going into intercept in the main base. So this DT here at the natural, there's no scans available. That tank, unless it gets repaired, is going to go down.
Yeah, he tries to repair it, but not fast enough.
Okay. This is not too bad. 3 SCVs and a siege tank. No units lost here. Able to pick up another one. I mean, against a Raven, this is frankly one of the best case scenarios.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's just, it's the best you could ask for. He is going to get the Archons now, and the Harass is going to continue on.
Archons being morphed, especially with shield batteries back home, should be able to trade a lot of shields here.
Yeah, he couldn't quite get that other DT back faster, so it's a little bit delayed. I don't know what this is going to get done. I mean,
ooh, Disable coming in here on the Warp Prism.
Hold on a second. This is actually awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Can he actually? No, he can't kill that before it goes back home, but it almost does. It's like
close.
It almost started losing HP there.
Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah, this got pretty wrecked. I'm not going to lie. This did not do what I think it needed to do. It doesn't mean that Stats is going to lose, but it's like, this is not the way you want your opening to go. Is also, it's so funny. Like when I see the Warp Prism get disabled, I'm like, oh yeah, no, you just can't. You can't do this at all. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. The moment that he was warping in and outside, that a Raven would immediately counter this.
Yeah, I was thinking he would try to bait out the disable and still lift up the Archons and get out of there, but just wasn't able to do it.
Because that would be the idea, right? You see it coming, and before it connects it, you just scoop them up and run right back out.
Instead now, Stat's going to go back at home, and I don't think he's in that bad of a position. Again, he lost what is effectively 2 DTs, the Archon, but in exchange, he was able to keep Terran in Terran's base.
Right.
Killed 4 SCVs, killed a Siege Tank. Siege Tanks are going to be critical, especially if Ryung is going to go for a bio tank push here on the 3rd base of Stats, which I think is what he's gearing up to do with, I believe, no 3rd command center underway. And Stats, this is starting to get to the area where he might be comfortable. I mean, he's powering up with a lot of gateways. He has +1 ground weapons almost done. He has charge almost done. He's getting a good number of immortals. And I mean, the army that he's going to have at his disposal is going to be pretty powerful. And I think there's hold potential here for Stats. And, you know, Stats, we talk about how he has these issues, especially in the early game right now, because it's been so long since he's come back to competitive StarCraft 2.
Right.
But, I mean, if he gets to a macro game where he's on 4 or 5 bases and he stabilizes, he is still a force to be reckoned with.
You know, I think if he finishes his tech tree and has 4 bases, I think he'll probably be just as good as he was, you know, in the past.
Yeah.
Oh,
boy.
The boys have been pulled.
And boys are getting pulled. I'm wondering, you know, with a Colossus, this is one of the best case scenarios here for Stats, is he's going to have a lot of splash damage to try and, you know, take out that front line. But we'll have to see how these armies engage.
I love that we call it pulling the boys. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like,
all right, so Stats, he knows it's coming. A lot of force field energy here available, going to try and section off. So these units, armor shredding missile coming in as well, as that Colossus actually getting disabled, but this shield battering doing a ton of work. The Immortals staying alive, as is the Colossus. More bio stimming in.
I think there's just,
no,
the Colossus. Yeah, it's just too much.
He might barely be able to hold on, but the army supply here for Ryung, it's so high.
There's too much sustain here. And
like,
the Immortal's going to get dropped as well.
Maybe if Ryung was able to buy a little, Stats was able to buy a little bit more time with force fields there and kind of turn those disables into a whiff, he would have been able to hold. But now with the Robo here, the natural expansion exposed, getting sieged down, this will be his only Colossus. He does have a lot of gateways, and the economy here for Terran back at home is not great, but the army supply differential is just massive.
I mean, this is just too much. You know, the reinforcements are going to come. The Robo was killed, by the way, so the only thing he has is this Colossus remaining. Tanks are in range, so they're going to keep shelling probes. The longer this is out, the worse it's going to get. He's warping in some DTs, and he's going to make Archons and try to get Zealots. Blink's going to finish, not that that has any impact on the situation at all.
Yeah, no Stalkers on the field at all, and even see Stats' macro is slipping a little bit here as he's trying to scramble his way out of this position, but Ryung with just a strong contain, even adding now bunkers to this position, and it's going to be tough. Like, with no Immortals either here for Stats, I mean, losing that Robo, he just now finally has another robotics facility completed in his main base. He's going to try and bust this position, but these bunkers, even incomplete, are going to be doing a lot of body blocking here on these Zealots, and I think it's just too much bio, tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, this game's basically over. I think that Stats has put up a pretty good fight. I mean, we're kind of seeing why Stats is known for, you know, being great and, you know, lasting and staying in the game, right? I mean, he's very good at kind of holding everything off historically and getting into a macro game, but, like, it seems like Ryung might just have too much. That being said, there are very many SCVs in this game. So, like, you know, maybe Stats can, like, kind of run the clock. That's funny. There's, like, nothing to protect that. So maybe in a world where, like, this base isn't eventually killed off, yeah, perhaps he has a shot. The thing is, this is like, you know, with bunkers, there's tanks that are slowly going to be in reach of the Nexus. I imagine there's a 3rd Colossus being made.
I would almost like to see Immortals coming out of this with the Warp Prism, but we'll see. I mean, Stats, he maybe has a chance if he gets one of the best engagements here today, but it just feels like an uphill battle.
He's not actually making out of the Robo, which goes to show you how kind of strained everything is.
He's going to try and bust this right now, I think. He's just focused on
I think he might actually do it. Yeah.
All right, here comes Stats trying to break this position. Those siege tanks still alive, focus firing down the Stalkers. Archon's also getting cleaned up there. The siege tanks finally do fall, but so does most of the Protoss army. There's only 2 Colossi left standing.
The bunker's doing some work here, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 Colossi against almost pure Marines, so Stats is still staying alive, but I feel like we might be ending the end here. Or reaching the end here,
We're
excuse
ending the
me.
end
Ending
is what
the
we're
end.
doing. I like the 1 DT going out too. He's smart.
Yeah.
Send that DT out, see if he can kill off the few SCVs that are left here.
You're going for the siege tank too. I like these plays coming out of stats, and also if you can stutter step here with these Colossi, especially if you can get another shield battery back here. But
the thing is, there's nothing to protect the War Prism from the. Oh no, hold on, there's stalkers here.
Like 3 stalkers total.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense here is so bare bones for stats. You're just barely hanging around, and I think the natural expansion even for stats is like 8. Yeah, it's maximum 8 probes is sufficient mining there. So soon going to be out of resources entirely.
I feel like he should have just gone for the SCVs and not try to kill that Marauder, but maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? It's just, you know, there's not a lot of workers in the game. I mean, that's the one thing that might work is like it seems like Terran always has like a little bit more, but the oh no, he lost the Vikings.
Let's see Vikings. Oh, is he gonna get that next one? He really wanted it.
Yeah, this
Don't
is what
quite
you want to
deep.
do is DT snipe all the SCVs.
Is there a world that stats actually holds this?
I'm starting to think that Stats actually holds this, but we got to watch this next attack because the Liberators are up. The one thing that Ryung is not doing is he needs to get a tank that's in range of the Nexus because that'll force something to happen.
There's 3 siege tanks though, only 5 stalkers, the 6th one now getting warped in. There's no answer for these Liberators, and the mineral income here for stats is not getting better. I mean, the main base is almost completely mined out. The natural also only has 4 patches left. Hey, this DT is doing work. I do like it.
Yeah.
Intercepting the reinforcements.
Okay.
It is.
He's going to get in range to try to start to hit this. He's still not in range. You see what he's trying to do, though, you know?
Yeah.
He's reset the rallies, so they're going to be by that turret.
I wouldn't mind stats like using that warp prism to try to go around and set up a flank here, maybe warp in either at the base to the south or
the
the
elucidated
right.
Immortals are pretty sick.
All right, here we go. Stalker's blinking in, going to try and focus down the Liberators. We'll be able to get one of them. Second one will go down, but again, the Protoss army on the ground just completely overwhelmed here.
Yeah, it's really all come down to just these 2 Colossi. All right, he finally kills one, getting closure.
Yeah.
We're halfway to that.
It's a lot of resources lost here for stats with very minimal mining. And I mean, Ryung, he never needs to throw it down in 3rd CC. He can just do what Byun did in Group A and lift one of these command centers to a 3rd base and just resume mining there. As stats, if he doesn't break out of this position, it is just straight up game over. He's not going to have any minerals.
If the Nexus falls, he's done. The main base is also mined out for Ryung. He's transferred SCVs there. So, you know, it's kind of a nail-biter of a game, actually. I've really enjoyed following this. It's been very unclear, too, the whole time. It's like, is he about to die, or is he going to hang on here?
Stats will be able to clean up that siege tank, trying to save the Archons, trying to micro them back. Desperately needs a shield battery back there.
You know, he's still here with no tank. I mean, what are you going to do? God, he should get a battery over there, man.
He really should.
He just had that same idea that we did.
So the main base now for stats completely mined out. There's only 4 mineral patches in total, so there's almost no reinforcements coming in for stats. And you got to think that the Vespene Geysers also in the main base of stats are going to be low, if not out already. So there might not even be a lot of Archons coming down the pipeline.
Good with the control. Hold on. He's got this one tank. He needs to protect that tank. The Archons, they get picked off. Well, one is, oh no, these.
Oh, shield battery only just now finishes. I mean, stats, he's making a game of it. This Colossus micro has been pretty insane, and he might actually be stabilizing.
Dude,
the army supply is now 29 to 18.
Okay, I think stats actually wins now. What does he have? Well, maybe he doesn't win, but this game goes on. This is crazy.
I'm actually in disbelief. I don't even know what to say.
Look at how few minerals there are at that natural. I mean, it was like he was about to mine out.
Yeah, he has four mineral patches left, and all of those are almost completely mined out. Now Stats is going to have to retake a 3rd base. You know, the good thing here for Ryung is that he can fully saturate this 3rd immediately, and Stats doesn't have a lot of pushing potential. So he's actually distance mining. Oh, no, tasteless. He's distance mining from the 3rd to get the minerals to build a Nexus. That's how broke he is. So he was able to actually push out of the contain, but it might be too little too late. I mean, perhaps if he was able to make that breakaway, you know, maybe a minute or 2 sooner.
I mean, the truth is the long distance, it's so painful. Whereas this command center just swaps in, you know.
Yeah, look at the mineral income right now. It's barely 1,000 minerals per minute for stats, and that's with all this distance mining, whereas Ryung is easily eclipsing that, topping up 2K at moments. So, I mean, I feel like, although for a moment we equalized, all of the time that Ryung is going to spend mining from this third base while Stats is waiting to get that third Nexus actually kicking is going to be a huge issue.
It would seem to me like what's going to happen is that as that Nexus finishes, Terran's going to push again and actually just obliterate it. You basically just like use the time where they're mining inefficiently to muster a bigger and better army, come out and do that killing move. And I think that may be how this game ends. Again, but you know, even if this is the way that Stats goes out, it's a good reminder to everybody, like this is kind of what he got so famous for, was having this amazing ability to get into a super long late game.
He is tenacious. I mean, just being able to withstand the onslaught. I mean, we just kept thinking that any moment now Stats is going to tab out, any moment he will die. His army count continuously got reset to literally 2 Colossus with no shield battery to the natural, and somehow
a Warp Prism.
Somehow he was able to stabilize, but I think you're right that, you know, Ryung is just going to macro out of that third base, and any moment now, he's going to march across the map with a really formidable army.
Yeah, and, you know, it's, I don't know if Ryung has registered this idea yet, but, yeah, I think now would be a good time to push. And also, excuse me, I got to point out, like, I don't know why he set the Warp Prism in at that time. Don't you want to wait for the attack to come out and then try to draw the Terran back? Like, why would you set it there? He's just going to move his army up into his main and kill it, right? And that's exactly what happened. It's like, all right.
It is
also,
timing.
You could use that Warp Prism to juggle the Colossus, kind of like the only reason why you're in this game is that happened. Anyways.
All right, so Ryung with the scan, confirming the third base here. We'll be getting in position to move out with 4 siege tanks, 2 Vikings. I think there might be some Liberators. I'm not sure where they are. Perhaps coming in to reinforce, and also Ghosts are in the pipeline here for Terran, so Stats is going to need another miracle to hold on here. There is a shield battery at that third base, so he has a little bit of wiggle room with Micro, but
yeah, he just needs to get those tanks in range of the Nexus. I got to be a little bit critical of Ryung. He's kind of bad about this. Like, this doesn't do anything if there's not at least 1 tank hitting the Nexus. I mean, that starts a clock there where it's like, okay, well, the longer this game goes on, eventually this Nexus is going to fall. And if the Nexus falls, then you lose.
Shield battery does get taken out here at the third base as Stats finally finishes that 4th Nexus. Oh, here's the Liberators. Okay, it's like the budget planetary fortress.
Yeah.
Defending
it's
against
kind of a
the
makeshift planetary, kind of a cool way to hold it. So this Nexus goes down, but there's another Nexus just...
hold that thought, Tasteless. Actually, Stats is going to commit on this position, coming down the ramp. But these siege tanks focus firing down the Stalkers, and then soon after that, the Colossus. And, I mean, we're just seeing the dividends of Ryung's third base.
Yeah.
Just paying off here as the army is overwhelming. And
GG. The final Colossus falls, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, Stats made a show of it, man. It was
a good game.
that was tenacious.
It was very impressive. I mean, talk about an uphill fight where he like actually held off the all-in, and then it was like he doesn't quite have enough minerals for a third, so he has to long-distance mine. He might have actually won that had he killed that and just had the 400 minerals for the Nexus.
Yeah, or even just breaking out a minute sooner out of that natural expansion, you know, because that was right around the time that the main base was running out of mineral patches. But if you're trying to afford a Nexus with 4 mineral patches total mining, it's not a very good time. So
yeah. Well, we're gonna have a rematch then. It's gonna be a TVT Ryung versus GuMiho. Just around the corner. We did see GuMiho ultimately come out on top and defeat Ryung. Of course, GuMiho falling to Dark earlier on, 1-2. So the question now is, can Ryung get his revenge, or is history going to repeat itself and GuMiho come out on top once more?
Yeah, it should be a good series. The first series was kind of quirky and a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we might get a couple more TBTs, too, looking the way this tournament's been shaken out, man. We have no Protoss yet in the round of 8.
Yeah, it seems to be a very Terran tournament so far. Which is fine with me, but we do need to get some Protosses to advance.
Yeah, at least one, please.
Fingers crossed here for Group C. We had a decent amount of Protosses to start the round of 16 off, but they're not surviving.
Yeah, well, Creator and Classic are both waiting in the wings in Group D. 2 Protoss. So would love to see them both advance into the round of 8, even though Innovation is coming back. And guys, we're going to go to a break. When we get back, the final match of GSL Group C. We'll see you soon.